How about my spaceman? I'm an orbital.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we move on to some of the news that we have to talk about? How about I start? Because
I'm just
speaking
gonna
of
sit back and
speaking of technology that is exciting, our ludicrous future, your boy Tim here is going to be trying out some new technology. Da, 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 da. Check this out. So they've been talking a lot about Starlink, and Elon had been talking about how they're going to be doing some beta testing in 3 months and probably some public beta stuff in about 6 months. And I go, hey, Elon, I think I was destined to test Starlink. I live 42 degrees north, and I'm 4.2 miles north of 4242. And oddly, I'm 6.9 kilometers from 4242 also.
What
How
does that
ridiculous
have
is
to
that?
do with anything? I saw the tweet.
42 is his favorite number. It's the answer to everything.
Oh, okay, got it. I thought there was actually like, oh, the Starlink satellites are, in this orbit or whatever, and at this altitude or this latitude, it'd be better.
Well, currently there's about 420 Starlink satellites as of yesterday.
Right.
Well, they're deorbiting too as we speak, kind of. So there's about 420 Starlink satellites, and 42 latitude and close to 42. Yeah. Anyway, Elon said sure, so maybe I'll get to test it,
That would be cool.
and I'll let you guys know
So
how it is.
yeah, so they just launched 16 more satellites, right?
Here was the liftoff just yesterday, or Wednesday, if you're listening to this on Friday now, which you probably are. So SpaceX launched another successful Starlink mission. This was a massively reused rocket. This was a fourth flight for this rocket and reused fairings. So that's really exciting. Luckily for us, they recovered this one. Remember, they've had the last 2 prior Starlink missions did not have successful landings. And this one, after the footage kind of, it worked. This one worked. So they're back at it, landing successfully again, which is great. And they successfully deployed the 60 satellites. And the cool thing is, I didn't pull this up, so maybe I'll do a little bit of, why don't you guys ask some questions, and I will pull up some awesome footage that some people
How about
showed.
While you do that, we should mention, folks that are new to the show, we also have a highlights channel that you can go check out with just these individual news bits instead of the full 18 hours that we typically post. So
since everyone's so short on time these days.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I love when people are like, I only want like 10, 20 minutes. It's like, there's a pause button. You can pause this stuff. It's not live TV anymore.
We're so engaging that they can't stop. So.
Yeah, we do that with our movies. Jenny and I will it'll take us 3 nights to watch them because we only get 40 minutes of free time with the kids and stuff.
Yeah, but check this out. So Eagle Kepper already immediately took this and posted this picture from Europe. 20 minutes after the launch or whatever, 30 minutes, something like that. Very soon after the launch. This is the second stage at the top, followed by the 2 trails, because there's 60 satellites in the fairing, and they're in stacks of 30. So there's 2 stacks of 30. So that's what we're seeing. And then someone else here. This was Zapolks Nagy, space station guys. Check this image out though. Again, the Falcon 9 second stage. Either an empty stack or a satellite deployment or something or whatever it is, and then the satellites. How wild is that? Apparently they seem to be a lot more visible right now, and I did ask Elon that because I've been seeing people reporting constantly that they're seeing.
I was going to bring that up. I've been seeing that a lot lately.
Tons, and there's a few. I think there's 3 factors for the increase in like people noticing them. Number 1. People are probably more bored and spending more time now just like maybe hanging out outside in their backyard, trying new things. That could be part of it. Light pollution's down, air quality is a lot higher, so people in metropolitan areas have a lot more visible sky than normal, and that's literally measurable, that the night sky is more visible in big cities than it ever has been. But also, the main reason is probably because they're currently, the satellite solar arrays are currently deployed in a position that is helping them to raise their orbit. And then once they're parked in their final orbit, I think that satellite array changes how it's facing. and then it won't be nearly as visible. But I think right now some of the satellites are in their maximum visibility phase. And Elon did mention that in a couple months, let's see, I think he said, what did he say? By launch 9, they're going to be a lot more. They're going to try a sunshade on it, and that should help to reduce the brightness and stuff like that. So, He said so. Right now, the solar panel angle during orbit rays to park, and they're fixing it right now. So currently, some of them are a lot more visible than they normally would be. But yeah,
I wonder if that messes up any kind of long-term time-lapse type telescope stuff going on.
Well,
absolutely.
that's the concern. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it'll be fine tomorrow, it's like, yeah, but you already jacked up like some of it, and that could throw off the whole thing.
Well, I mean,
No?
what's bothering me about this newest wave that I've been seeing the last few days, along with you, Tim, is that like most of the time you hear those complaints like right after it launches, and right after it launches, and they're all like grouped together, it's going to be a lot shinier, and it's not in its regular orbit and everything, probably still deploying and whatnot. But when they were doing it just in the last few days, saying I'm seeing all these satellites up there, that started to bother me a little bit, because it's like those have been up for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
But the thing that people need to remember is, and this is where, okay, and maybe I'm just not an astronomer. Astronomy is not as important to me as spaceflight, so maybe I'm a little biased. But
Astrophysics, you mean?
well,
Like that kind of stuff? Well,
yeah,
it's all
I
the same
mean,
thing.
yeah. But the thing that from my previous, I used to do a lot of astrophotography when Everyday Astronaut was a photo series. I went out and would do a lot of night sky stuff. And pre-dawn, pre-dawn and post-sunset is really the only time these things are going to be that visible. Because obviously they have to be reflecting off the sun. So if you're truly in darkness, they aren't reflecting off anything, and therefore they won't be visible. And you don't do most astronomical things when it's dusk or dawn anyway. You do them in the proper middle of the night. So I feel like people are cherry picking in both sides. Like, I'm guilty of like, it's not a big deal, but at the same time, like, people are stacking images, doing like 7-minute long things and stacking only the positive results of the satellites and just saying, look how nasty it is. And it's like, that's not what it would look like. You're cherry picking the data. The astronomers can do the opposite, where you remove all of the stuff like that, and they're instead adding it in post-processing to make it so it is stacked positives, So there's things that they can do, and people are like, well, yeah, but it's just extra noise. Well, there's always noise. There's literally, like, sometimes they have to take into consideration certain things and remove the noise from the data. So they're already used to it. There's things you can do to offset that, but
just atmospheric, what's the word I'm looking for?
Atmospheric distortion. Yeah. Is
That
a
alone.
huge thing. I just think we're maybe at this awkward moment in history where this is going online before we had more on orbit observatories. Like, I think once there's more and more astronomy already just in orbit or out in space, like the James Webb Space Telescope, and if say Starship or other commercial launchers make it cheap enough to be able to do big game-changing space-based observations, like, that'll be kind of game over
that'll
anyway.
be way better.
That'll be way better, but it'll take. Think about the number of observatories and things, and, and
plus
units down here. It'd be a decade before, or 2 decades before we could remotely match that output or that capability. But
Yeah, you're not wrong either that it's Elon, so people want to pick on him for stuff because it will get themselves more attention, right?
But also, it's Elon, and he's going to make sure he's saying it's okay, even if it's maybe not 100% okay too.
I mean, like, if this were some random, Russian oligarch or billionaire out there doing this, those
Or
people
any of the
may
other
be complaining, but
constellations-
no one would care.
Yeah, or in the other constellations that were in the works, like I never heard one concern
Right.
about like OneWeb or any other ones. Yeah,
But still, it is something to, and it sounds like Elon cares about it, obviously. It's
they're
space
taking
and the stars
actions.
and stuff.
They're taking actions, and I think, as long as they're working with the scientists, which they are, they should be able to come up with protocols and ways to make it so it's really a mitigated issue. It was funny. Someone the other on Twitter goes, "I would rather I would rather have, I would give up internet before I gave up astronomy or something. And I was like, how ironic for you to say that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for checking us out, guys. I hope you enjoyed this clip from our podcast.
We do a weekly show here on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe to Our Ludicrous Future, where we discuss all the things that are going to make our future totally ludicrous.
You can join us here on YouTube or at any of your favorite podcast places. Plus, if you want to get some behind-the-scenes stuff and join a cool community, you can help support the channel at patreon.com. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.